a video on something that I was reading about. So there is an Italian dish called Braciole, which is normally cheap beef, flattened out and then rolled up with breadcrumbs, herbs and hard cheese, tied up or skewered with that's skewering motion with a toothpick, and then celebrated in tomato sauce. However, what I was reading was talking about them actually in the really southern poor part of Spain, right the heel of the boot. They actually use, instead of beef, they use pig skin. So, because I am curious about really pleasant dishes and really cheap dishes, I was curious. I was kind of like, that's kind of quite interesting, to say the least. If you're a fan of braised pig skin, which is not dissimilar from a pig's trotter. That's so you kind of go, that's nice. So this could be nice as well. So I was in the supermarket, and you can buy in one of the supermarkets in this country. You can just buy the pig skin, but it was more expensive than the boneless pork belly joint that was on special offer. It was £5 a kilo just for the skin and a little bit of meat and a little bit of fat, which was £5 a kilo, which I kind of thought was quite expensive. But this, which is pork belly joint, it was £4 a kilo, and we still get the skin and we get the meat as well. So to my mind, that's a more economical thing to use. So what we're going to do is we're going to make the braciole using the pork belly. We're going to use the skin from the pork belly, and we're also going to use the meat as well. So the meat's going to be like a byproduct. I'm really only interested in see how the skin turns out, and we've got a couple of offcuts of meat as well. So, and what I've done is, we'll just move that out of the way because I've already skinned it badly. What I've done as well is I've also cut the meat into, it's normally thicker than that, so it was double thickness. So what I've done is I've taken the fat off, the skin off, and then I've split the meat as well, because it's normally like that, if you imagine. And what I've done is I've cut down there in between the layer of fat, and then we've got longer bits like that. So we're actually going to use those as braciole as well. It's normally done, I've seen it only done with beef. Maybe that's an American thing, whereas American Italian thing, whereas the Italians will use anything that they can get their hands on, hence using pig skin. I can't imagine why they wouldn't use pork belly as well. So we'll do that. So, and what you basically do is put the filling in, roll it up, tie it up, and then braise it in a tomatoes. I'm going to use my own tomato sauce that I make, and I've got some jars left of that, so we're going to use some of that, and then which has already got carrots and onions and garlic and herbs in, and then I'm going to bulk it out with a bit of some chopped tomatoes, which were cheaper on offer, which are fine. So we'll kind of use those as well. So the basic premise is, so I'll do it with the meat. No, because I'm more interested, and we've got some scraps of meat as well, which I'll put in as well, which will turn into like ragu in the sauce. So I'm more interested in the pork skin, if I'm honest. So we'll roll up the pork skin, because that's really what the dish is about. So I've got some breadcrumbs, it's my own sourdough, and we've got some parsley, like that. So we've mixed those together. So if I remember rightly, it's about that, and then it's hard Italian cheese, which is just the cheap stuff that you get from the supermarket, what I got from the supermarket. So it's about that, and then we're going to roll up, maybe mushroom. What we'll do is we'll spread it out a little bit more evenly all over that, so it's more like a Swiss roll. So then we'll roll up like that. I have to do this quickly, so I've got something browning on the top of the stove and I don't want it to burn. As always, I'm doing two things at once. So then we just need a bit of string to hold it all together. It's a little bit too tough, is the pig skin, for a skewer. So we just need to tie it tight with a bit of string. So we'll see how we go. I might need to pause the video because I can smell the beef that's browning on top of the stove. So I'm not very good with butcher's knot. We'll just slice that off and then I'll show you. So what I do instead of butcher's knot, I should learn how to do butcher's knot, but I haven't in the years that I've been cooking. So what I do is simple knot that I'll go around twice, and then we can pull tight like that, and then that tension there keeps it all together, so we don't need a second pair of hands. We can just do another knot like that, pull it all together, and then that keeps it secure. We'll do that all the way down. I'm not going to brown them off, we're just going to slowly braise them in. Well, I might braise those off, but that's what we're going to do. We'll go down and we'll finish those off like that, and then with the pork, I think what we'll do to protect the meat, we'll fill the flesh side and roll that up that way, so the stuffing will go on like this. That is pork. I'm not going to season it. And then cheese, so the fat on the outside will protect the meat. We'll give it a brown off, I think, be a good idea, and then we'll roll it up the same way. So I'll go through everything and I'll roll them all up and I'll tie them all up, and then we'll come back when we're on to the next stage, and it's slowly braised in the tomato sauce. But that's pretty straightforward, isn't it? Right, so all nice and neatly tied up. Those are a bit too big for the pan. What I think I'll do is I'll cut those in half. But those are a side product of what I was really interested in, was that's ridiculous. Why am I doing this? I don't know. It's just interesting. So we've got those. I'll work out how much meat we've got and some kind of recipe. I think the pork belly braciole is going to be delicious. We've got some scraps of meat as well. They're going to go in. They'll enrich the sauce. So I'm not going to fry off the pork pig skin. I don't really see the point, if I'm honest, but I am going to fry these off. We'll render some of that fat out and they'll go a little bit crispy, and then we'll put them in the pan. And so that will be kind of the next bit of where we are of putting in the pan. You don't need to see me frying them off. Just get a bit of, just in a frying pan, bit of colour, and then into a pan that we can braise on top of the stove. Right, so the pork braciole. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. So I have browned off the pork belly bracioles, and we've left the skinny ones, skinny ones, without frying them off. I didn't think it was particularly necessary, and then we just thrown those bits of meat in. So a jar of my homemade tomato sauce, which has got the vegetables in and the garlic and the herbs already, so we don't need to add any onions or anything like that. We can just add the sauce, and then it's going to cook down. There's enough flavour in that sauce, so I think there'll be enough flavour in that, but we just kind of want to add a little bit more tomato to it, so it becomes a little bit more concentrated. But it doesn't need any more carrot or anything like that. So we'll just add a tin of chopped tomatoes, and then we'll just give it a bit of a shake, and then we can kind of gauge. There's going to be enough. There'll be enough liquid in there. We might add another tin of chopped tomatoes. We might just shake out the jar like that, just to get those little bits of tomato worth getting out, and then we'll do the same with the tin like that. Give that a swirl. We don't like waste, and that can just go in there. So temperature on, so bring up to a relatively fast boil, and then we'll slow it right down. As soon as it comes to the boil, then you need to slow it, put it on a slow heat. Anything that we slowly braise, we don't want to cook on a high heat, because it tends to make the meat stringy and things like that, and it'll boil things to bits. We want like a slow cook, and then all the flavours can combine, everything comes nice and tender, the sinews can break down, and the fat will come out of the pork belly and enrich the sauce and all that kind of stuff, and then the pork rind will also kind of slowly braise down as well, and that'll be really nice and soft as well. So kind of interesting. Not everyone's cup of tea, but I'm curious. There must be someone else who's curious out there. Right, so the pig skin seems nice and tender all the way through, so let's pull one out and let's have a taste. I'm curious. The pork bracioles aren't just as tender as I would like just yet, so there's a little bit of, oh no, that's getting there. That one's still got, they just need a little bit longer, but the pig skin is cooked. What we'll do is we'll go in half. Maybe we need to move the camera, but we'll see how we go. We'll just cut half, scoot fingers, nice and tender, like that. So you kind of get that spiral all the way through, and then just cut that bit off there. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. I'm just extremely curious. Extremely curious. It probably could have done with a bit of garlic, but I don't like eating garlic late night because it always makes me really thirsty. So we'll just try. I mean, it tastes like, it's essentially, well, it's pig skin, isn't it? With some cheese and some breadcrumbs and some parsley cooked in a tomato sauce. I mean, it's proper peasant food. I think it's proper peasant food. I think if there was more meat on the inside, so I mean, it's something that's been made by people who had absolutely no money whatsoever, and whatever food they had, they didn't waste a thing. So even the breadcrumbs after the sliced bread, they wouldn't waste. So from that point of view, it's kind of interesting. I think if there was actually a layer of meat in there as well, I think that would be really kind of quite nice. It'd be very reminiscent of a pork trotter, like a pig's trotter, slow cooked in a kind of tomato sauce. If you kind of bone them out, type of thing. But I quite like it. Oh, it's nice and tender. I think it probably needs a bit more. It probably could have benefited from some garlic, and you'd obviously have it with some pasta. I'm not sure who you'd serve it to. If you had friends coming around for dinner, they wouldn't thank you for it. But that's kind of interesting. I don't know, maybe it certainly will have added flavour, will the pig skin, to the ragu. So maybe, yeah, probably you could cut the outside layer of, or just leave the one layer of meat that was next to the skin and wrap them up like that. And I think that'd be kind of quite nice, and it would be a very rustic dish to kind of serve. And I think with the meat and the skin and the fat and the stuffing, I think that would be very nice. I think that'd be very nice. Well, let's pull out. It's going to be tender enough. So let's pull out one of Braciole's and have a taste of that, and then maybe have a taste of. We'll go for the end bit. Maybe have a taste of the Braciole. So Braciole looks like that. It'll look better somewhere in there. It's still a bit tough. Actually, that's good. That's really good as that. Sorry if I'm making a noise while I'm eating. Yeah. I think if I was to do that again, I would intensify the tomato sauce by putting some tomato puree in. I would leave the pork skin on the outer layer of meat and do the same. So it would be slightly bigger, but have the pork skin on the outside, and then I think that'd be very nice. So I think the combination, so we'll go into there and you can see the stuffing should be better. Yeah, so you get With that one you get a lot better. So we'll go to the camera. So that one, it's better because you can see the stuff in there. So I think if that had a combination of the meat, the stuffing, trying to get that bit of skin and that bit of string off. I think if it had a combination of, see that's kind of quite nice. If it had a combination of the skin and the meat and the stuffing and a bit of sauce like that, yeah, that's kind of quite nice. That's yes, I like that. It's very rustic. It's I mean, cucina porvina. I can't. My Italian's rubbish. Well, I say my Italian's rubbish. I can't speak Italian. I know a couple of words, but my pronunciation is rubbish. Yeah, that's really nice. That's really nice, that. A winner from my point of view. I'm not sure who you'd serve it to, friends-wise. You'd have to have some friends who are serious foodies, or into Italian food, or adventurous. But that's delicious, and cheap as well. I'll do the recipe, and then it's just something interesting, isn't it? Really, more than anything else. Interesting to me. Yeah, I think that's a winner. Yeah, I think it's really nice. Well done me.